All right, welcome everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Township of Puslinch on May 3rd, 2023. I will start with roll call. Councillor Bailey.
Present.
Councillor Hurst. Present. Councillor Goida.
Present.
And Councillor Spools.
Present.
This will begin our moment of reflection. All right, that concludes our moment of reflection. Ms. Whitebox, you have a resolution for confirmation of the agenda, please.
The council approves the May 3rd, 2023 agenda and addendum is circulated, and the council approves the addition to the agenda as follows. Consent item 6.1.4, questions received from council seeking additional information and the corresponding responses provided by staff.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Hurst, seconder, Councillor Bailey. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? It's carried. All right, next we have disclosure of pecuniary interests. I have two. I am declaring a pecuniary interest on 9.4.3 as my family owns property in the vicinity of the proposal. And I believe Ms. Whitebox 14.7 is the confidential minutes as I was previously employed by the township. That. Is there any other pecuniary interests? Oh, go ahead.
I am declaring on item 14.3, which is a confidential report prepared by staff. Impact versus County of Wellington, and I have potential pecuniary interest due to my employer being included in the court decision.
Councillor Goida? Any other declarations? Okay. All right, I believe we are on to the consent agenda. Ms. Whitebox.
That the consent agenda items listed for the May 3rd, 2023 council meeting be received for information.
Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Spools, second by Councillor Goida. Any items to be withdrawn from that? I guess I should start over here. Councillor Hurst.
6.6, the sewage industry service one. I think it was more just a question that came into my mind because of the municipality being reliant on residential septic for a lot of cases. Is this an issue where?
Hold on a second. I'll just get which ones you want pulled out and then we'll come revisit.
6.6.
6.6, thank you. Any from,
I'm good.
you're good, Councillor Spools?
6.3 and 6.19.
6.3 and 6.19, 6.19, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, that's John. All right, if you're okay with it, I'll let Councillor Hurst go with his first, even though numerically it comes after your first one. All right, so we will receive the remainder of those items. Did I have a mover? I did have a mover and a seconder for that. Oh, Councillor Bailey and Councillor Goida.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor for receiving the remainder of those items? All right, that's carried. All right, Councillor Hurst, 6.6.
Sure, it was just a question of staff due to the necessity within the township for sewage management service providers. Is this an issue that they're addressing on lack of service availability that township feels as municipalities should get more engaged in advocating for the necessity for them to have adequate pit services available? Or because it occurred to me that that's a very vital service within the municipality, and if the service providers are struggling with where they can put collected septic tank cleanouts, that becomes a big issue.
So through you, Mr. Chair, staff have discussed this a little bit internally, and I think this is an issue that many municipalities are looking at, particularly with the legislation that's really pushing for the increase in development of residential development, and just having, even if it's not private servicing, where it's the need to haul septic, even having the municipal servicing with the wastewater treatment plants being able to accommodate and be the capacity to take on this new development that's being mandated. So I think this is a discussion that many municipalities are having, privately serviced or otherwise. So I think it is top of mind, but with Puslinch, again, not having the wastewater treatment plant, we would rely on neighboring municipalities such as the city of Guelph, Kitchener, all of those municipal facilities, would be, where private hauling companies would take that waste too. So I don't think it's something that, given that we don't have a wastewater treatment system, but it's certainly something that the township should be cognizant of, given the development that's coming down the pipe.
And just one follow-up to that, would a scenario exist where a municipality with a wastewater system would not accept product beyond the borders of their own municipality, which would then put our municipality at a significant disadvantage?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I believe that that's not something that's necessarily permitted by the province. I think that there are rules and regulations around these where, and again, looking at capacity and that sort of thing, but I think they are regulated in such a way that that wouldn't be something that would be permitted, but staff can certainly take that away and look into it a little bit more.
I'm good with that. I think it just was to me, it was an early warning sign of, hey, is this going to be a larger issue that needs to be managed? So if staff can look into that, I'm comfortable with that.
I have some comments, but I'll just wait till I go around the table.
No,
Really?
Yeah, I just had a question. I see in the correspondence here that there's a town hall meeting on May 5th. So whether anyone can attend or not, I'm just wondering if they'd be able to get maybe some minutes or some, I don't know, further correspondence from that town hall meeting, which could help guide staff too.
You need your speakers facing forward. Perfect. You could reach out, Dave, this way.
Certainly, I could include that in some direction.
Also, we received a letter from a concerned citizen around a similar topic. I don't recall if it was circulated to all council. It was a operator of a septic pumping company, and they were identifying that one of the wastewater treatment plants would be closed. Was that City of Guelph that would be closed? Do you remember?
I believe it was a northern municipality in the county. I thought it was mentioned Listowel, so
Okay.
somewhere up north.
So that company serviced our area and hauled the waste to another community. And I was chatting with Councillor Palmer. He might have brought it up at a committee meeting, but anyways, what it boils down to is our community is I don't know if this is a proper term, but subsidized by these wastewater treatment plants because we're very dependent on it. We cannot deal with our waste in-house because we have to have them pumped every 5 years. And as Ms. Whitefox indicated, we likely are going to have more rural growth going forward, with these ERO postings. So I'm interested for staff to reach out to our closest municipal neighbors and see what rules they do have in place for accepting our waste. And I don't know if we have a role to play in that, but it's definitely worth investigating. And maybe there's potential for us to enter into some sort of agreements with these municipalities if they provide proof the waste came from sourced in Puslinch. I don't know, but it's definitely worth investigating. So appreciate you bringing that up, Councillor Hurst. Any comments on? Okay, so.
The consent agenda item 6.6 listed for the May 3rd council meeting be received, and that staff investigate how wastewater treatment plants are regulated by the province in terms of receiving waste outside of the municipal borders where the plant is located. And that council direct staff to request minutes from the town hall meeting on May 5th and report back to council at a future meeting.
You move for that, Councillor Hurst, seconder, Councillor Spoulos, last chance to say anything. All in favor? That's carried. All right, Councillor Spoulos.
Yes, 6.3 County Wellington approval to amend the municipality's official plan. I would like to move that we ask the council to come to the county to come to our council to give a presentation specifically with respect to the proposed regional significant economic development area in Puslinch. I think it's important that we and all the residents affected by this get an understanding of what they're going to do, the timing of it, and the process they're going to go through with that.
That's moved. Can I get a seconder for that? Counselor Hurst. Any questions, comments, Counselor Bailey?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Counselor,
Very supportive, good comments.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, and also maybe just to get a better understanding of, there's a bunch of modifications that were added to the OPA, so just sort of understanding what those modifications translate to is probably helpful, but yeah, I think great suggestion.
all in favor for that? It's carried. All right, next one, Counselor.
Yes, 6.19. This is a website put up by Province Ontario, which basically includes a link for the information on status of providing internet service in Ontario. And if you drill down into Post Lynch, you can see the sort of the north east part of Post Lynch is they say they have 50/10 service. Well, that's not entirely true, but it's underway by Standard Broadband. So to get appreciation of where that various roads are in the process of getting fiber, you should go to the Standard Broadband website. The rest of it, there is a designation. This is for the northwest and sort of the south border of Post Lynch that they say it's they're calling it as a pending project. So that's a good sign. And anecdotally through our Facebook page and myself talking to some of the construction companies out there in west part of Post Lynch, Rogers is actively pursuing issuing forms asking people for consent to access the property to provide fiber to their home, and there's no obligation associated with it. It's you're not obligated to pay for it, and you're not obligated to sign up type of thing. I got the form. I'm sure Councilor Hurst got the form as well. And so that's very good news in spite of not having any announcements. All it's good news that we're seeing something in pending.
Can you speak to, so I reached out to Standard. There's areas of the township that are the pending. And to me, there's concerns that if there's pending construction, if another service provider is going or intends to build out, say Post Lynch, that they won't go into those areas because they've been identified as being serviced. Have you, through your committee and your contacts, have you had any?
Well, my understanding is that they would not go into another area. This is Rogers, but Standard Broadband, understand, is going into some areas such as the I forgot the name of the development south of Maltby on Victoria Road on the east side.
Fox Run?
Audrey Meadows. My understanding is they want to go in there too, and they already have something there. I don't know what's cable to the home or fiber to the home that's there. So it could be basically Rogers has put a connection there and they a node, and they run fiber through those homes, cable through those homes. Standard Broadband wants to go and put connections to each of those homes.
So my concern is that there's going to be the possibility of a full build out. We've seen some action, and whether there's announcements or not, there's been some discussion on it. But if an area has been designated as a site that is for future expansion, it'll get skipped over because it's been designated as future expansion of some other provider. So how do we ensure
I'm
that?
not aware of any such locations, because what the internet group did, we looked at the mapping that we had available from this sort of who's not covered, who's covered, and we asked Standard Broadband to cover that, and I believe Councilor Bailey alerted me to the fact that she wanted that not covered, and she did talk to Standard Broadband, and they indicated they would, and it's on their map.
No, it's on a map, but that might,
No, and it's scheduled.
till something's in the ground, I have concerns.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
That if there's another provider being paid to put fiber throughout the entire township, and they don't go somewhere because it's on a map, it's not physically in the ground, we're gonna have black spots, and I would like to see commitments. I'm
No,
complaining
no,
to you, but
no, I understand that, and the internet committee, our internet committee is very cognizant of that concern. And we have looked at the previous mapping provided by this other internet provider, and we pointed out to them already some shortfalls.
okay.
We have not seen anything, as you're aware, but there is no official schedule out yet. And we can't do anything about it until there's
The county has a web page as well for people to access and do a speed test so that they can map where the deficiencies of internet are located. I thought it was,
I agree with you,
so
but
people should,
at the same time, somebody's got Starlink. Right now, they get 200 megabits down, we're happy with that. But you get fiber, you can get 8 gigabits down. So
there's a lot to, yeah,
there's a big difference. So even though you want 200, you get 200. People are, especially professionals involved, they would want a higher speed of processing the data.
yeah, but I still think it's important that people go to the Wellington County website. I don't know if you could capture it in the minutes, I can send it to you, so then at least people could reference the minutes after this. I did it, because I'm on DSL, so
Yeah.
mine is 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then it's,
Somebody
at
like
least
you, yeah.
it's in this it's captured. So it's just another layer. It might be duplication because it sounds like, your committee and other agencies are doing this B2B test, but the county's asking for it. So I think it's important that people log in and do those tests. Especially if you're not on Starlink or, fiber already, right?
Yeah, they're wireless.
So, is there any action from you? Just,
No, this is just basically information for the residents, if there's something happening already, even though it's not official yet, it's happening. There's a lot of buzz in the community, people are getting these flyers and they're signing off type of thing. And encourage anybody who gets these flyers to sign off, there's no cost to them, and it's even if you don't want it, you don't need it. You indicate you're gonna sell your property sometime in the future, be a big advantage to have the service.
it's a good idea to have a thorough discussion within their families on letting them put the infrastructure in the ground now at the cost of the provider. Because if it comes later, if they have to add it later, you're going to pay a connection fee, you're going to pay the cost of on the wire. So currently, it's my understanding that they will run it even to your barn. If you have a business in your barn, they will run the infrastructure up the driveway to the barn so that you can be connected. And so I think that's where you're going is, even if you're not interested in internet right now, there's zero cost or close to no cost. If you change your mind later, there's going to likely be some costs. So thank you for bringing that forward. For information.
So I have Councilor Spool is moving, just a seconder.
Councilor Goyda, thank you.
And I've included a note that the public be encouraged to visit the County of Wellington website, and I'll include the link as well.
I'll try and find it for it too. Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. I'm gonna slide over and keep bumping that leg. All right, we have a public meeting scheduled for May 31st, 2023 at 6 p.m. Open house held at 23 Brock Road South in person by electronic participation through Zoom regarding the following matter. Heritage designation process open house. Right. Councilor Bailey.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, Courtney would mind just kind of giving us a little overview about what that is going to look like.
Certainly. So through you, Mr. Chair, this is one of the steps in the process that the Heritage Committee is undertaking relating to the Bill 23 changes in the Township Heritage Register. So this first step is scheduling this open house, which won't be run as a statutory public meeting. It will be run by staff. Committee and council are welcome to attend, but it will be very much more informal. And we have sent out letters to all 109 properties listed on the register as listed status to come and attend. There'll be a staff presentation and an opportunity for questions as well as written feedback that the public can leave with staff in order for us to better work through the process with the committee.
Is it more advantageous to run it as a proper PIM or decorum and certain tools versus?
So through Mr. Chair, we did have those discussions, and I think this is just the first of the public meetings that we're going to have. We really wanted this to be kind of a first touch point for people in order to ask those questions and have it be a little less formal so that perhaps individuals that maybe didn't feel like they wanted to come in and maybe make a formal statement could still access that information. But there is opportunity and likely a place through the process to hold that statutory public meeting as well.
Okay. Sorry, oh wait. That's ours.
Is that meeting intended to be recorded or just you go?
So through you, Mr. Chair, we wanted the plan that staff have scheduled is for the actual presentation to be recorded and uploaded so that if someone can't make it, they can still access that. But then the remainder of the meeting would be in person.
That way people will be more comfortable to speak.
Thank you.
And so I understand, so to drop in, we come in here, we look at it, type of thing, and leave. There's no obligation for us to stand here and be here for the whole presentation.
Correct. It's more of an open house that staff are
Sure.
leading.
I'm gonna request that Councillor Bailey attend my.
I'll be there.
You're the alternate for me, aren't you?
Oh,
It's May 31st.
so I'll be there. I'd be happy to be there.
All right. Any further comments? And on to reports. Mr. Fan joining us today. It's 9.2.1.
Hello, council. So,
Just 1 second, Mrs. Sam. We have to adjust our volume here.
okay.
All right. Say something, Mrs. Sam.
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, that's better. Yep.
So the attached report, 2022 development charges is an annual report that's required in accordance with the Development Charges Act. And it's to provide council with information on the balances in our development charges and related transactions as of December 31st, 2022. I'd be happy to answer any questions from council.
Thank you. Can you read the resolution? Please?
The report FIN 2023-015 entitled 2022 development charges be received. And the council accepts the treasurer's declaration that the township is in compliance with section 59.1 subsection 1 of the Development Charges Act 1997.
Mover, please. Councillor Hurst, seconded by Councillor Spillis. Questions, comments? All right, all in favor? That's carried. All right, Mrs. Sam, 9.2.2, please.
So this is our annual investment report. Again, it's a requirement in the Municipal Act, Ontario Regulation 438/97. I just wanted to point out that Morella has done a great job this year, just reinvesting our funds in high interest rate investments. We've done significantly well in comparison to budget, and I'd be happy to answer any of council's questions on this matter as well.
Thank you.
The report FIN 2023-018 entitled Treasurer's Investment Report for 2022 be received. And the council accept the treasurer's statement that based on the information supplied by Canaccord Genuity Wealth Management, the cash and temporary investments held by the township of Clifton's during the calendar year 2022 were all prescribed in accordance with section 418 of the Municipal Act. And were all eligible as outlined in the Ontario Regulation 438-97, and that all related transactions in 2022 comply with the investment policies and goals adopted by the township on August 13th, 2014, and that no changes be made to the policy at this time.
All right, can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Goyce and Councillor Spillis. Questions or comments for the treasurer? Councillor Bailey?
Just a question. So in the recommendation there, it just talks about how the policy was adopted back in 2014. And I think I read in the report that it is looked at annually. But I just wondered if there were any recommendations to the investment policy that came out of the latest review.
There were not, so we didn't recommend any changes to the policy at this time.
Councilor Spills?
This has to be posted on our website, for transparency, is that correct?
This is not one of the reports that's required to be posted on our website. We haven't posted this report in the past.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
No problem.
All right, all in favor? That's carried. All right, Mrs. Sand, 9.2.3, please.
So again, this is another annual report that's required based on the provisions in the Municipal Act and Ontario Regulation 65305. You'll notice that we entered into a couple of new leases in 2022. And I'd be happy to answer any of council's questions on this report.
The report FIN 2023-019 entitled 2022 lease financing agreement summary report be received. And the council accepts the treasurer's statement that all lease financing agreements are non-material and have been made in accordance with the township's lease financing agreement policy as outlined in Schedule B to the report FIN 2023-019.
Hey, move for that, please. Councilor Hurst, second by Councilor Goida. Questions or comments? Mrs. Sand? Councilor Hurst?
Just one, I'm just curious if the organizations that are providing the leasing service are named insured on the township's insurance policy.
Yes, when it is like we have worked with our insurance provider to determine which items should be incorporated in our insurance policy for any new leases that we enter into.
Great, thank you. That's everything.
All right, all in favor? That one's carried. All right, we were on to 9.3.1, despite Fox, that's your report. Thank you, Mrs. Sand.
Thank you.
So through you, Mr. Chair, this report is a follow-up from the March 22nd council meeting. The direction is noted in the report. And this is being provided to council for information, and it's related to the legislative changes that are outlined in the ERO postings noted in the report. Happy to answer any questions.
You want to read the resolution, please?
The council receives report ADM 2023-021 regarding the proposed legislation regarding ERO posting 0196813 and 0196822 for information.
Dana mover for that, please. Mr. Willis, Councilor Hurst. Councilor Bailey.
Thank you. Mine was just more of a comment for anyone wanting to put comments on the ERO posting. Down at the bottom, it notes about 6 questions for consideration, just to help guide your feedback. So just sort of helps you give an idea of what, what kind of parameters to work within when you're making your comments.
So in saying that, Ms. White Fox, I've already submitted comments, but I did that on a personal level. So I would maybe ask you to speak to if a member of council were to submit comments, how they should represent themselves in those comments. I'm putting you on the spot. I apologize. It's not- So basically what I'm getting at is don't speak for council on these comments unless you have the blessing, and that's where I'm looking for you. So by all means, your comments on a personal level, wonderful, and I encourage it. Just don't put councilor Pusslich unless it's endorsed by the five of us.
Yep, so through you, Mr. Chair, I would agree, and I would also just put it out there that if you do have any concerns or questions, our integrity commissioner is available if you are concerned, but I agree with what Mayor Sealy said.
So I kind of interjected on there, Councilor Bailey. Councilor Harris, any comments? You're good? Councilor Bailey?
I don't really have any comments, just a question. It says in this report that staff advised that a number of requests have been made to retain an independent planner. Are you having difficulty finding somebody? Is that what it is?
Yes, so through you, Mr. Chair, it has been difficult to find an independent planner. I think it's primarily we're looking for a planner where there's not a conflict of interest. So again, looking outside of our municipality with it becomes challenging if it's a planner that has active applications with the township and they're also giving advice on policy changes. And then in addition to that, there's challenges just with the amount of legislative changes with planners having the time to really dive into this legislation and provide advice.
But you do anticipate that you'll be able to get someone to provide a report.
Yes, we have made some progress with it, and we do believe we have somebody. It may not be as in-depth as maybe we had hoped for. It may be a little bit more high level. But in addition to that, we'll also have a high level report from the County of Wellington. So you'll have both of those reports. Yeah.
Do you think that there would be any advantage to asking the county to attend the next meeting just to help guide our discussion?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the planning firm that we're looking at has also offered to attend.
Okay.
So I think we would want to have one or the
Yeah,
other.
okay, that's her. Thank you.
Believe county staff are reporting to the planning committee. I'm not sure how high level, but on the 11th.
Right.
So we'll at least have those reports available to us. I'm unfortunately out of the country that week, so I can ask, or maybe to just follow up with planning staff and get them on the agenda for the 24th at least.
Yes, so through Mr. Chair, I think maybe staff could take a look at whether the independent planner is planning to come. It may be that we don't want both.
I don't want both, I just want the reports that come to county on the 11th
Certainly.
in our agendas for us to review.
Yeah, okay,
And then we can ask our planner
okay,
representative.
thanks.
At a minimum, because then we'll see the county report, and then between the planner presenting the county report, we can then approach the county with some other clarification questions or whatever it may be. Mr. Lewis?
No, Council Gordon, I asked all the questions that I had in mind. Great.
Yeah, I look forward to the report. One thing that I'll just say what I put in for comments personally. I think because these two EROs are gonna are going to permit more rural growth. And my concern is that the consents that may be approved would be very large, so there's already concerns in the public about the development of farmland. And it's a big concern, so one of my comments on the ERO personally was capping these new proposed allowances of consents to 0.5 of a hectare, because I believe we're supposed to work in the metric component. Most people speak in the acres, trying to keep it to an acre, because I don't feel it's advantageous for our rural communities for farms to be bought up and be carved into 33-acre parcels or something like that. If growth has to happen as prescribed in the EROs, losing potentially 3 1-acre lots off the front of a 100-acre farm might be more palatable to the farming community versus these large severances and swaths of land. The other one I submitted, and it stems from when we first took office. We heard delegations from our hydrogeologists about wells and how they penetrate multiple aquifers. And he's raised that concern kind of almost every year. So my comment was that any new rural consents with a well, that the well be cased if they penetrate multiple aquifers. So at least going forward, we're reducing the risks to the different aquifers. And I think I would like our planners to take a look at, a comment was made to me that with a farm, you might be able to get 3 severances plus have 3 units on the retained through the ARUs. So you're looking at 6 possible residential units in a very small area, and I'd like to see the planners if they have a limited scope. That's what's that could affect Plissons, right? I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but anyways, that's kind of where I'm at with them right now, the high level. I look forward to those reports, and if you guys have any comments on what I said, then or if you feel there's if you feel there's a direction or something you want this planner to take a look at, I'd say you suggest it now, because as Ms. White Fox mentioned, it's going to be fairly high level and they're not going to get into the weeds. So there's a couple things that you feel are going to affect Plissons that need to be explained. It'd be great to either forward them to Ms. White Fox after the meeting or now, whatever you're more comfortable with. And then you guys can just make the decision. Okay. All
So sorry, does council have appetite then to make comments on behalf of all of us? Is that something we're going to?
We will do that later. We have time.
We have
The
time.
May 24th, the first one. Sorry, go ahead.
So through you, Mr. Chair, the posting for 6813, which is the one that contains the policy changes relating to the growth. Its closing date is June 5th. So if we can have those comments provided and submitted by the 24th at our meeting, then we'll make the deadline.
There is one ERO closing early, but that's the 10.
Yes, correct.
The 10 units and the recommendations, staff don't, well, you see the recommendation there that they don't have as concerns. That's the one that was of a short timeline.
So just to clarify with what you said about providing comments or
Correct, I should have said direction.
direction in
Sure, sir.
advance. So there's a few things that I had pulled out that I just would hope that the county could help give clarity, like kind of answer questions on what they're actually saying. I don't need to go through them all now, but is it appropriate to just email those sort of questions in advance of would it be in advance of the county planning meeting?
You could do that and also in advance of our 24th meeting, so that our, well,
I'll send them as soon as
Today,
possible.
yeah, yeah.
and then-
but if you have questions for the planning committee that you want answered, you can send them to me. I've asked Mayor Waters to share the meeting.
Okay,
You could contact him directly if you like.
okay,
But whatever you're more comfortable with, and just CC me and say, you know, and he'll get you, we'll at least have them brought up, of course.
sounds good, thank you.
Good, okay, so we're in that all in favor stage. All in favor? Yeah, right. All right. All right, so now we have report 9.4.1. I believe that's Andrew.
Morning, everyone. The report you have before you is the first quarter report from the building department comparing this year's quarter to last year's quarter. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take council's questions.
That report, BLD 2023-002 entitled Building Department First Quarter Update, January to March 2023, be received for information.
I'm gonna move for that, please. Councilor Bailey, second by Councilor Spillis. Questions or comments for Andrew? Councilor Spillis?
Yeah, do we anticipate an uptick in the building permits toward the next 3 quarters?
It's definitely hard to predict what's going to be coming in. Given that we don't have many, most of our subdivisions being built out, I don't see a lot of development happening around the residential area for new single family dwellings, maybe only through the consent process. We do see some big industrial projects that may be coming to fruition this year. So we could see some big permit fees coming in at that point.
Good to hear.
Councilor Hurst?
Yeah, just a question, and within your peer group, Andrew, are you seeing similar trends within similar municipalities within the region? Or is this unique trending to our municipality?
No, definitely. I've been talking with neighboring municipalities, and they're experiencing similar. I'd say the larger cities around us maybe are not seeing the same, where they have established subdivisions and the price point might be more palatable with the interest rates where they are. But most rural municipalities are seeing a little slowdown. This is comparatively very close to what it was in 2020, so it kind of matches the numbers. For both 2022 and 2021 were very busy years for us, so comparatively, it feels a lot slower than it has been.
I think you might enjoy the break, because if these ERO postings get approved as posted, I feel you're going to be a very, very busy individual. So we'll
Could
see.
make a difference. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Andrew. All right, all in favor? Scary. All right, this is not the one I'm on, no, I'm 3. 9.4.2. And that's you, Ms. Whitewise.
So this report is in relation to a zoning bylaw amendment application that council or that the township received. The report outlines a recommendation that staff are making.
Hold on a second, we got it backwards. 942 is the one I'm out on, not 943. Sorry, I have to exclude myself. Sorry, I got the numbers wrong. Sorry.
Awesome.
What's the process?
So I'm just going to make note, Mr. Chair, that we're passing the chair to the alternate, which is Councillor Bailey.
All right, Councilor Bailey.
Okay, let me get my. Okay, so we're 942, is that correct? Okay. Yeah, so Madam Clerk, can you please read the recommendation?
Certainly. So the recommendation in this report is that report PD 2023-002 entitled zoning bylaw amendment application D14 WDD. Request for council to deem the application to be incomplete or complete be received. And whereas there are a number of outstanding items as noted in the summary report attached to Schedule A, that council deem the zoning amendment application to be incomplete until the items are addressed by the applicant to the satisfaction of the township. And that council direct staff to continue to review the application and present to council with an updated report for consideration at a future meeting.
Thank you. So are there any questions or comments from council? First?
None.
So
No, I agree with the approach that's being recommended to. Sorry, I agree with the approach that's being recommended to deem it incomplete until the refinements are done for the studies.
Thank you. Councillor Suppose?
I'm okay with the recommendations.
And I guess I just had a question for you, Brittany. What would the timing be for an updated report?
Once the application actually has been deemed incomplete, the statutory timelines are paused. So council has made a decision on that. So from that point, it really is going to be applicant driven as soon as they're able to satisfy the outstanding items. So that could be any number of weeks, just depending on how fast the applicant wants to proceed with it.
Okay, great. That answered my second question as well. So, do we need to reread the resolution now that we've come up with a consensus?
No, if nothing has changed, so as long I have, I believe I have a mover and seconder, so as long as everyone's satisfied that they don't need it reread.
Yeah, okay. So can I get a mover, please? Councillor Sepulveda, seconded by Councillor Hurst, and all in favor? That's carried. Go back to the chair.
Thank you, Councilor Bailey. All right, give you a moment, Susan, you just take a quick. All right. Next, we have 9.4. I apologize for that. They're very similar reports, so I remember 9.4.3, and this again is your thoughts.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is another report related to a zoning bylaw amendment application. This application relates to the property 67064 road. And I can read the suggested recommendation by council by staff, sorry. That report PD 2023-003 entitled zoning bylaw amendment application D14 AZI, request for council to deem the application to be complete or incomplete be received. And whereas there are a number of outstanding items as noted in the summary report attached to Schedule A, the council deemed the zoning amendment application to be incomplete until the items are addressed by the applicant to the satisfaction of the township. And that council directs staff to continue the review of the application and present to council with an updated report for consideration at a future meeting.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for that, please? Just listen, Councilor Gordon. I just ask some clarification questions. Has this been a legacy appeal? How long has this zoning amendment been ongoing?
So this particular amendment was received in March of this year, but as noted in the report, they did do their pre-consultation back in 2021 for the zoning amendment. So it's been a little while, but I wouldn't call it legacy.
I thought this was one that we had been dealing with for 4 or 5 years. It was started with bylaw process. Anyway, staff is comfortable that it's progressing well enough through this zoning application.
Yes, so through Mr. Chair, there are a number of outstanding items, so deeming the application complete or incomplete doesn't indicate by any means what the decision will be by council. It just means that we have the studies in order for us to proceed to the complete application.
Okay, perfect. Councilor Bailey?
Yeah, I just had a question. This might be getting ahead of myself, but down the road, due to the close proximity to Township of North Dumfries, what type of communication or neighbor engagement do we do outside of the township?
So through Mr. Chair, the Planning Act requires us to notify agencies within a certain distance. So the municipality, we would be required, the upper and lower tier to notify the clerk. So they would be notified through the statutory notification process.
Thanks.
Stop smiling for the camera.
I caught the flash.
I know, I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
No, I'm good.
Question, are they actively doing, boarding, dogs there right now?
Through Mr. Chair, yes, so this amendment application is in response to an enforcement matter, so the operation is currently in existence. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we have a mover second. Oh, sorry, you read it. Okay, it's kind of mover for that, Councilor Bailey, seconded by Councilor Coyle. All in favor? It's carried. All right, 9.7.1, we have the tender results for, oh, I can't wait to get an update on this. You guys are gonna love it. Mr. Fowler.
Good morning.
Mind turning your camera on for us, please? You've forgotten to put your title on your name. People that watch online like to know everybody's position. Yes. Nice. Excellent. All right, Mr. Valley, the report is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is the tender results for the Bourne Park and PCC Parks Master Plan. It is outlined that unfortunately, due to inflationary demands, we have come in over budget. A couple mitigation measures have been identified as to bring the cost down. I'm happy to, in conjunction with Mary, to answer any of your questions.
Councilor Bailey.
Thank you. My question is mostly just around the timeline of the project and around what type of communication or signage perhaps we can be keeping the residents updated on the progress.
As far as the timeline goes, once council approves the successful bidder, a construction schedule and an on-site meeting can be established where an updated project timeline as far as different areas identified, such as playgrounds, tennis courts, things like that, can be identified for what month of construction will happen. As far as the communication device, I think it would be wise to utilize our social media platforms and website. I can give weekly or bi-weekly updates on the progress of the construction as it occurs.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I do have, members of the public already asking me kind of what the plan is. So if I can direct them to somewhere with updates, that would be fantastic.
Councilor Hurst.
No questions other than I think I'm very supportive of Councilor Bailey's suggestion to promote this in terms of how the residents' tax dollars are going towards public infrastructure projects. I think that's a fantastic idea, but in terms of the proposals, the realities of cost increases, I think is not a new topic to anybody in this realm. So I I'm happy with the suggestions through the pre-reads as alternatives. I don't need follow-ups.
Let's go ahead.
I just have a couple of questions. I was wondering if you could just explain maybe a little bit the effect of deleting the fiberglass layer on the tennis court. Does that impact the lifespan of the tennis courts in any way?
The fiberglass layer has been identified usually as a rehab measure for existing asphalt surfaces on a tennis court. So if you experience potholes or any type of alligating on the asphalt, a fiberglass layer would be applied, and then a thin layer of asphalt would be applied on top of it. Because we are doing a full reconstruction, because we have to establish a proper base again, all asphalt will be removed, proper sub base will be reconstructed, and then a couple layers of new asphalt will be applied. So the need for the fiberglass mesh is not required at this time, because it's basically a brand new build again.
Okay, awesome. For some of the other provisional items, like for instance, the basketball nets, if maybe the rec committee or any other community group was able to do some fundraising, those are things that could be added later, is that correct?
Absolutely. Through any type of cooperation through the community, if we were to obtain a proper commercial basketball net, that could be installed in-house at a later time.
Okay. Yeah, so I look at this as, you know, yes, costs have gone up, but I think that's in line, just being in the construction industry. I see that at my other job as well. And I see that it's only going to likely continue, especially with the cost of labor and insurance and things like that going up. So I think our staff, our finance team has done an outstanding job securing grant funding, and we definitely don't want to jeopardize that. So I am very excited to finally get this work underway. And I would ask one more question. I know you don't know the exact timeline as to when these projects might be complete, but when they are complete, can we do some kind of, maybe you can't answer this now, but can we do some kind of great big,
Party?
yeah.
Sorry, ribbon cutting. That's what
Ribbon cutting, but I mean, maybe make it a little bit more exciting than just a ribbon cutting, do some kind of,
maybe I'll let Ms. Whitebox express what we're required to do due to the funding.
So through you, Mr. Chair, the Ontario Trillium Foundation does require, as part of our agreement for the grant funding, that we publicly recognize the project and the funding. So staff are working to plan that event, and Director Pogworth had said we'll know better on the date with that, about 75% through the construction. So likely in the fall is what late summer, early fall is what we're thinking.
okay,
But yes, we'll have some. sort of-
maybe that's something that the rec committee could work in conjunction with to plan maybe some kind of. I don't know.
Just don't plan on the fall fair day. No, I'm serious. Because it can be easily overlooked.
Yeah,
So through you, Mr. Chair, I think involving the committees, rec, youth, great idea. I think we can make note of that.
okay, great, thank you.
Councilor Sports? That's on my island.
Oh, I'm fully supportive of this project, getting this particular area completely done properly. It's been a long time coming. It's been over 7 years since we first started thinking about it. It's finally coming to fruition. It's really great to hear. A couple of things. The parking lot lighting outside this building, is that part of this work, or is that a separate work package sometime in the future?
Currently, drawings and layouts are being completed. It will be a separate project outside of the Parks Master Plan. It was identified through the asset management that the front parking lot would be repaved this year, so it will be combined in conjunction with that asset number.
And the second point is, this along the themes of celebrating and notification, as Councillor Bailey and Councillor Gordon pointed out. Can we put a sign up at these locations right now, if you go to look, there's a construction project going on someplace, there's somebody saying, this is coming to you, this is this and this and this. So I'd like to suggest we have one of those signs put up here, coming to you, whatever the schedule is, this. Perhaps, invite them to come in here to look at some drawings on the, walls. We can have some drawings of the concepts that we approved previously. And likewise, put a similar sign up in Gorham Park, coming to you. All of this is, there's a new, exciting, fully accessible playground.
I like the direction you're going. I would prefer that, it direct them to the website. I mean, if we post them here, are you gonna, is the intention to have a public meeting or are they gonna be
No, we've done that in the past.
or outside the building you're talking?
No, put it inside the lobby here.
As long as it's just accessible when it happens to be accessible. I don't want staff to be here having open houses, you know.
Oh, no.
Something like that.
Yep, so through you, Mr. Chair, we can get some signage made up. We can also include a QR code that could direct them back to the website for more information, but
Absolutely.
we could include some
That's
concept
good.
plans.
QR
Yeah.
code's a good idea.
So I was approached by some young individuals and I was leaving the hockey rink last night. I hear them call my name. They said, Mr. Seeley, we went around and stuck posters to doors. We want our park. So there was some positive lobbying going on down in the Bourne area. So I was very proud to hear that these young individuals were advocating for the improvements to the park. So I thought council might find that interesting. Mr. Fowler, these, to me, the PCC project is, for us, it's a pretty large project. The Bourne Park is very important to me, and I really don't want to see it take a back seat to the work done at the PCC. And since it's the same contractor, is there any assurance that Bourne Park could go first or at least concurrently with the improvements at PCC? So what I'm getting at is, I would really like to see that Bourne Park be used this season, not opened in the fall if at all possible.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I will definitely communicate that to the contractor. I cannot guarantee any timelines at the moment. There could be delivery issues or several components that may be back ordered for the time being as far as the playground equipment. So until I have an in-depth conversation with the contractor, but it will be strongly encouraged that Boreham takes front and center stage for the initial startup.
So Mr. Fowler, I took a walk through that property a week or so ago. It's, my estimation, it's fairly large. And just thinking outside the box, other potential uses for that park, but it was quite wet in the one corner. If council were, so I'll back up a little bit. With these ERO changes, I predict some influx of parkland dedication fees. We have some potential subdivisions, going to be 3 of them coming online, and this is going to pay a lot of money into our coffers. So improvements in that area, can you speak fairly high level to the challenges, if there are any, with that park? If we wanted to say put another, like a youth soccer field or something of that nature in that back green space?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess I would have to say that until some soil testing is done to determine if we do have an active spring in that back corner due to the consistent wet conditions up until July, August, would have to be completed. The recommendation would probably be that the green space would have to be built up to accommodate another additional, whether it be a Timbit soccer field or a youth soccer field. And I guess my other comment would be is the consideration for parking, which we do have the available space right now, parking for participants of the basketball court or the playground structure. If we were to add another venue to the park, we would have to seriously consider coming up with parking solutions.
So if is it even feasible to haul in fill to build up land like that, or is that a kind of a pipe dream?
Well, that would be in conjunction with the possibility of looking into weeping tile to drain the wet affected area into the already established drainage ditches. Again, that would have to be explored a little more to see if it would be advantageous to haul in fill to build it up, if we would we'll say, gain more playing time without the wet conditions. But again, none of this has been explored yet, so it's all hypothetical at this point.
Okay, well, no, thank you for that. Like, land is hard to come by in the township. It's very expensive, and the more we can utilize what we have, I feel that's great for the community, but these are obviously conversations we'll have at a later date, but just wanted to plant that seed with council, so. Where were we? Councilor Hurst has his finger up, I think, or is that?
Contemplating your thoughts.
Okay, that's a scary, buddy. Okay, so we have the recommendation. Yeah, do we have a mover and a seconder? Yeah. You have a question? You're moving it? Okay, Councilor Bailey. And seconder, yeah, you're seconding this one for sure. Actually, switch that around.
Switch it.
Zoe is first in that. This is in her neighborhood. A lot of work into this, and you brought this forward first, so. All right, any last comments? I'm very proud of this. I'm very proud of staff, all the challenges we face with these projects and funding questions, and it persevered, and we're still on track. And I'm gonna actually go on a rant here. In fact, we persevered. Our decision-making process was questioned. Our accessibility was questioned, and staff were able to provide all the appropriate decisions and information that proved that our staff made the right decisions, that everything was compliant. And this project is able to go forward as applied for. So that is, an indication of professionalism and a job well done by everyone, even though it's been a little bit of a long haul. But we're very, very proud of everyone. Thank you. This is very important to the community. We can't do a lot for our community in this rural, we don't have a lot of services, and the green space and parks and soccer and all that good stuff is what we can do. So thank you, council, for weathering the challenges with these projects and just seeing the end sight as important. So very, very proud of this whole thing. So I'm gonna stop talking now, please. Let's move on, but all in favor? All right. 9.7.2. This, I believe, is Miss Hassan again. Am I reading that right?
Yeah. So this came out of direction based on the Youth Advisory Committee's recommendation at a previous meeting. And so we're just reporting back on staff's recommendation, just based on times that we felt would result in the least incremental cost to the township or loss of revenue. But we would be happy to answer any of council's questions. I also have Sarah here in case there are questions about rentals or whatnot, and Mike as well for operational type questions. So.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Whitefox. You know what? This may change. So I'm gonna just let them speak first. Councilor Bailey.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a couple of questions about the roller skating. As everyone knows, I'm chairing the youth advisory, and when the young lady brought this forward for, the initial idea, I think they were thinking more than 2 times a week. So I guess my first question is just, what is the feasibility of adding in a third day to the week, and maybe help us understand kind of how the scheduling was last summer so that we know what we're trying to work around. If it's rentals that we don't want to be giving up, then I'd like to know a little bit about when the rentals were happening. Because we don't want to jeopardize that income. But so that's my first question, is just wondering about trying to get a third day in. And my second one is, along the lines of the timeline for the pilot project, I feel like 3 years is a little bit long to get some feedback. I'm wondering if we can just do sort of a spring and summer pilot and then reporting back in the fall to see how that went. And then that would give staff time to plan for next year, you know, coming forward. So two questions there.
So. Sorry.
Right.
So the pilot program, I believe we're recommending a 2-year pilot, so from 2023 to 2025.
Well, I guess so that reads, so 23 is a year, 24 is a year, and the end of 25, or is it at the beginning of 25, there's a new report, so. Is the pilot inclusive of the entire year of 25, or does the report come in January or say the end of 24? There's a difference of a year there, right?
Yeah, so I guess if council can maybe just include in the resolution when you want us to report back on this, and then that way we can report back when it makes sense.
Right. That was the first one.
So I guess I'd like to propose.
Not yet, just let her, and you had the second question for her.
And the second was being able to add in a third day. A weekend was requested. But wondering where we can fit in a third day in the week.
Yeah, so I believe in the questions and answers to council, we did indicate that we do have rentals on Saturday and Sunday afternoons, and I believe that the recommendation was if council did want to add an additional evening time slot, it would be either Monday or Tuesday evenings, because we have traditionally received little to no rental requests on those evenings. Facility staff are already on site for baseball and soccer rentals, and so a Monday or Tuesday evening would result in the least financial impact in terms of minimal lost rental revenue or incremental staffing costs.
Can I expand on that?
Great. Yep.
I'm trying to find it, but Sunday morning, so the weekends are when children are home. And a lot of kids have extracurricular activities through the week in the evenings, so it's difficult for kids or parents to divide that time. You said Sunday afternoons, there was historical rentals. Was there historical rentals Sunday mornings?
I can have Sarah look into the calendar.
Maybe she can do that while we continue on the question.
Sarah, you probably need some time, right?
Hi there, sorry. So traditionally Sundays aren't, we don't have a lot of rentals on the weekends either. But with that, are the times where the facility is then closed to save in staffing costs and operational costs. So if this drop-in program was to take place on a weekend when there aren't additional rentals, there could be those additional costs.
Understood. Does that make sense? What's the, if you open the facility, is it a minimum of 4-hour shift for employees?
I think Mike would probably be better to answer that.
To you, Mr. Mayor, no, we currently don't have a set amount of time that is dedicated per shift. Usually we do run between 4 and 5 hour shifts. That includes opening the facility, attending while the rental is ongoing, and then shutting down the facility or washrooms after the event. So no, there's no specific timeline that has to be met. Out of courtesy, we usually give the students about 4 hours regardless, just to basically make it worth their time.
The PCC, is it rented through the summer, Saturdays and Sundays, or just Friday, Saturday? What's the typical rental for the PCC? And sorry, I'm making an assumption that we have a staff member on site when we have rentals now for our community center. Is that a fair assumption?
Yes and no. Usually if a staff is required for a Sunday morning, it's usually strictly for cleaning and prepping the facility for the next day. So whatever staff member is in at the PCC, their job, their basic responsibilities, the PCC. So to ask them to kind of jump back and forth, then we just extend the cleaning period that has to be done.
Mary, how fast are you at adding numbers? What would it cost to, I'd like council to hear the cost of implementing a Sunday morning arena opening for whether it's 3 hours, that gives the staff a half hour on each end to open a facility and close it. The total costs in wages for that, please.
For 3 hours?
4, because they need 3 hours of free skating, but a half hour on each end for the staff member to open the facility and close it. I don't know, I'm assuming they can open and close it in half an hour, Mike?
So this will be a definitely trial and error. I know that due to dust, any type of moisture on the pad, bird droppings, etc., there may be the need that the staff member may have to push the scrubber around, which takes about a half an hour before the pad is clean. So until we actually get into the actual operating and, you know, basically within the pilot project, I can't give a time as of yet of what the required open and close times would be.
But if a staff member shows up for a 4-hour window for rollerblading, they can delay the true opening of the facility until the maintenance is complete. So instead of being 30 minutes, if it's 45 minutes, they take the chain off as soon as the facility is ready for use, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So once we establish a start time in the morning, then staff times will be adjusted 45 minutes or an hour in advance to show up, have the facility, washrooms unlocked, change room unlocked, and the pad cleaned.
So either way, I'd like, if we could, to have at least a rough estimate on 4 hours of staff time for a Sunday. And whatever way you manage that so that the facility is prepared, that's neither here nor there for me. If it ends up being 2.5 hours of free rollerblading or 3 hours, at least it's open and accessible is where I'm going with it. But I'd like to see those staffing costs, at least at a high level, so we have an indication. That'll let you guys decide. You'll know per day, like
Per day.
per day. Right, which is basically per week.
Yeah.
So you just do quick math. All right, Councillor Bailey, I kind of jumped in on you.
No, that's good. I'll leave it there. I do want to thank staff though for bringing this forward. I didn't say that at the beginning, but I think this is super exciting and appreciate, you know, the work you put into it already to figure out where we can fit this in. So thanks.
And I did stop you, but the reporting back on how the pilot's working, you'd like to see it
In the fall.
in the fall.
Yeah.
Okay. And Councillor Hurst.
Thank you. I think most of the questions I had were addressed here. I think the first one was, I'd like to see an interim pilot report in the fall, probably in the conclusion of the rollerblading season before the ice goes in or somewhere there and around. I think would be important to know the number of participants, that type of metrics to gauge the success and the relative cost to the municipality. I think also it's just, I think this is really important from my standpoint. This is a recommendation coming from the newly established Youth Advisory Committee. And I think it's behooving on us to hear from them and act on some of their recommendations. So I think this is a really good learning experience for the municipality, how this goes. And I think the third piece that just occurred to me in going through the briefing, we need to make sure that we have availability at times where the children are either A, in school, or B, that it's a useful time for parents to get them there type of thing. So I think those have been addressed in Councillor Bailey's comments. I'm good.
Councillor, go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple quick, I guess maybe thoughts. I'm wondering if I hear what you're saying, Mayor Seeley, about children have activities throughout the week. But given that this is summer, I'm not sure, maybe children have less activities through the week. I guess there's still soccer, baseball, but I'm sorry, I'm just thinking out loud, but if we already have staff here on Monday and Tuesday nights for other reasons. Maybe it's worth considering if Sunday is going to be a challenge, opening it for 2 additional times on Monday and Tuesday night to give some flexibility. We also already have staff here. And also just to point out that it may not be just kids that want to use it. The roller skating, I understand that there have been some inquiries as well from adults and seniors. So I'm just putting it out there that if Sunday is going to be a challenge, maybe we offer it 2 nights a week. That gives, if kids have something going on Monday night, they can attend Tuesday night or vice versa. But either way, I do think it's important that we have at least 1 time slot available out of school hours, like you say, where adults aren't working, to really truly gauge, if we're doing a pilot project, in order to really gauge the uptake on it, I think we need to be offering at least 1 to see how it is being used when people are available. Those are just a couple of thoughts.
Thank you, Councilor Lewis.
That's just a question, Councilor Gordon. When you're saying 1 day, are you talking 1 weekend, 1 day of the weekend?
Well, I just was sort of tagging on to there's been some discussion about potentially having a 2-hour opening or 3-hour opening on Sunday morning, which would be 1 additional to what's being proposed now.
Okay,
But what I'm suggesting is maybe we add, instead of the Sunday, we add Monday and Tuesday, which is 2 additional spots. But it just allows a little bit more flexibility for kids who may be in activities.
Yeah, so I agree with having the report done this fall. I think it's the more we can find out how our facilities are being used, the more valuable it is to us. So the sooner we find out, the better. With respect to Sunday morning, I'm prepared to bite the bullet and say, let's do a Sunday morning. It's only a test. We can ask staff to report back at the next council meeting if we want to see what the true costs are. And the fact that we're not going to implement it the first Sunday of May, but have to implement the second Sunday of May if the cost is favorable. So I'm prepared to go along with what Councilor Bailey is suggesting. It's a entire Sunday. Let's find out what the cost is first, and then let's get a report in by the end of the year or in time next year.
Just related to the costing, just the 4 hours for the 7 months times 4 weeks per month. So that's a total of 112 hours. So the amount for the season for the part-time wages, like the part-time students' wages and benefits, would be $2,743 in additional costs.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. So.
I was just wanting more opportunity. I feel that we're venturing into unknown waters. We don't know the uptake yet, and I think after the fall report, if we have a report that shows the usage is down, my concern is that we're going to have these times that a bunch of people that don't roller skate choose for people to do that activity. You know, when they add up the numbers, it's going to show only 3 or 4 uptakes. So after the pilot, I'd really like to re-engage the youth committee if the numbers are low and ask why is the uptake not there if we need to adjust the times. I don't want to abandon the program if after the first pilot. I just think we need to find the right times. As for the Sunday, I was just looking for more time, so I'm supportive of moving that around. I didn't take into account the school ends in the end of June and then there'd be more availability, but so I'm comfortable with whatever direction we go. But what I'd also like to state is that if this could be a living trial document schedule. So if we get a basketball rental and Ms. Heater, I'm sure some come in last minute, but if we have a rental for that facility for some other use, then maybe we could update the schedule for the rollerblading and it's open because the staffer's already there for the basketball rental. And sure, the numbers may be low because there wasn't a lot of notice to the public, but at least least if somebody's paying attention and they go on the website and say, I wonder if rollerblades is open today, and you happen to take a Friday booking for Saturday, they get lucky. So I wonder if that's a possibility that staff could also report back on, is having a very fluid schedule for opening that, since we already will have the staff are there. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Ms. Heater or Mike or whoever will be in.
That's definitely an option that Mike and I can discuss. If we're looking at more of a fluid schedule on Sundays, and we're going to tailor that around existing rentals, that may be something for council to consider as well. That would maybe be a way of sharing that cost of having a student there.
It's a lot to digest, but I'm gonna go around again because we've discussed, like Councilor Stoulis is supportive of the 4 hours on Sunday, but I don't really know where I'm landing. I'm just trying to get, I know it's brutal, eh? Maybe you should have stayed chair, Councilor Bailey, but I'm just trying to get more opportunity for our kids and more use of that facility. It's just concerning when it's just got a padlock on it and it's locked after the ice comes out, except for the farmer's market. I don't think this is, so just, thanks, Councilor Bailey.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilor Goyda kind of got me thinking about something. I think part of collecting data is making sure we're collecting it at different opportunities. So it's hard to say. I'll skip ahead. I think we need to be providing a morning to be able to gather that data, an afternoon and an evening. And then when we look at the report in the fall, we'll be able to say, wow, like the evening ones were much busier than the morning ones. So therefore, maybe we should be providing more evening sessions. So I'm just thinking, I know we've got 3 till 4:30 penciled in right now because that's after school time. And I think that's fantastic. I think there will be a lot of uptake for that. But then maybe we also need an evening one to then capture some of the adults that might be interested, and then maybe a morning time for the seniors. So that's just, I'm going to throw that out there as well.
Okay, Councilor Hurston.
Just building in Councilor Bailey's comments, I think I completely agree. I think the only add I would have is weekday and weekend. I think is another important aspect. I'm very supportive of Sunday morning window. I think as somebody that has kids that are 5 and 8, to me, that's like a great time to take them out. I'm busy in the lot of the weekdays type of thing with, coming and going. So I think it's important to have weekdays and weekends as an opportunity. And as the number was floated out, a couple $1,000, I think to me, that's good value for exploring the opportunities. That's it.
Yeah, I am, as I said earlier, I was just thinking out loud, I'm more than happy to support the Sunday morning, just even if it's, I think that the dollar amount is relatively low considering the gain added value that we're getting from it. And if we're gonna be looking at it anyway, at the end of the season or end of the year, we can evaluate and modify from there, but I'm more than happy to support, either way, weekend, weeknight, afternoon, morning, whatever we can feasibly manage.
12 a.m. to 3 a.m. Sure.
I mentioned before, I'm okay with Sunday at that cost. I'm okay with having the report in the fall. Certainly, I can understand Councilor Bailey's point of view of having something in the evening, then you can gauge the 3, and I can understand what Mayor's saying with respect to having a fluid schedule. So perhaps that's we've got 4 opportunities here. So I would support staff reporting back on a fluid schedule. I would support trying to get another session for the evening as well, so we can get a gauge of morning, afternoon, and evening.
So just had a quick conversation with Ms. Whitebox. I asked her if the workload that would be on staff, we asked them to report back on the Sunday mornings after, say, 2 months after July. It's not a large amount of money, but at least then we could look at it and say, yes, it's been successful or not, or move those staff hours to. If you're supportive of the money, then maybe we move the staff hours. So I think we could do the Sundays, report back in a couple months. And I'd really like council and staff to consider this fluid schedule. Group of friends that I'm involved with, we play basketball Monday nights. Now it's 8:30. So till 10 sharp, we never stay late. But the staffer's always there, so I don't know what time they arrive, but there's an opportunity for, you know, the staff to be there to not be incurring additional costs. I know the gym is going under some renovations starting, Mike, it's the next
Monday.
week, so it's out for 2 weeks, but then for sure, my group of friends, we've discussed renting it all of June on Monday nights, so there's gonna be some opportunity to get some of those evenings in with minimal impact, so I think we can just ask staff and go around that you're supportive of considering the fluid schedule when there's already a rental. So that and leave it at them if they can manage it or not. Because as Mike indicated, I see him thinking, but there is work required to get it open. I don't know if there's more challenges at night due to a day worth of gravel trucks driving by and causing dust. I don't know those details, but I definitely want staff to take a look at it. And again, report back in July on the Sundays. And Councilor Spillis, you're gonna move a motion to open it on Sunday mornings for a prescribed amount of time. Is that what we?
So if you, Mr. Chair, maybe I could share my screen and we could look at it just to make sure I've captured what you're thinking.
Before I do that, I'm just gonna ask Mr. Fowler if there's any major alarm bells going off that you wanna bring to the attention of council before we start discussing these couple options.
No alarm bells. I'm just thinking in my head that just comparing it to the winter schedule with the ice on the pad. In the summer seasons, I have staff there at nights for either soccer or baseball, regardless if there's a rental at the Orc to open and close the washrooms. So there is overlap there where I don't really feel there'll be additional scheduling or incremental costs because I currently have a staff member there. So if it's, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, I don't foresee any problems offering rollerblading on those times, you know, from 6 to 9 or 10, whatever to be chosen. I'm pretty sure there's a ball hockey league on Thursday, and on Friday, we're closed at 5.
Last question, does it have to be rollerblading or eventually can we open up the uses? I know, we had, maybe it was during COVID because we were open, but we had lacrosse utilizing it. If it's not being used for roller skating, is there any prohibition for a dad or a mom going with their kid and playing catch lacrosse inside there?
Technically, no. Yeah, I'm just leery of 2 different parties conflicting at the same time. So if a group wants to come out and roller skate and then, like you indicated, a father wants to practice lacrosse with his son or daughter, because there's no established rental times, I'm not sure if you would run into conflict then.
I'd be supportive of one or the other, but anyways, I might follow up with you offline, but I feel that if nobody's on it, I wouldn't have a concern with the public utilizing it if it's open to the public. But if it's designated for a certain use, as soon as that use arrives, then that's the use that happens. But going down a bit of a rabbit hole here, but I'm just very supportive of that facility getting more types of use. So it'd be good. Okay, so he doesn't have any major concerns other than the conflicting uses that I brought up. Councilor Bailey.
No, I think this sounds great. I love the idea of trying to get more evening stuff, supportive of the fluid schedule. So when staff is there, seems like a no-brainer. We've already got the staff there, and if we're able to add this use, that's great without an extra cost. And yeah, looking ahead, I'm thinking ball hockey and other uses. We might have to figure out where that's gonna fit in the future, but I think we're on the right path here. I think this is great.
Sorry, I was supposed to let Ms. White Fox read what she had captured.
I just wanted to share my screen to show the schedule, just to make sure I'm capturing it accurately. So just amended a little bit, the wording of the suggested resolution. So, the council authorized staff to offer free drop-in time at the Orc rink for roller and inline skating for a pilot period for the 2023 season in support of the youth committee's request. And that upon completion of the 2023 pilot program, that staff report back to council on the results of the pilot program. Sorry, and not upon completion. We're looking for midterm at the end of July and then again at the end of the 2023 season for reporting, including the number of participants attending during the drop-in times and the outcome of the fluid schedule for drop-in times when there is an existing paid rental of the facility. So I'll just tidy up that top part there. And then this is what I've captured just for direction for the actual schedule. So Mondays, afternoon, morning and evenings, just looking at maybe more of a fluid rental schedule based on when it's already rented and just kind of slotting that in. Tuesdays having 2 fixed times, one in the afternoon and then one for the summer in the mornings. Wednesdays, again, looking at more fluid programming. Thursdays, looking at the afternoon for both the spring, fall and summer. And then Sunday mornings again for the spring, fall and summer.
Good. All right. Councilor Bailey.
I think that looks fantastic.
First.
The only add is this is really good. I think promoting use of the recreation facilities within the community is fantastic. I would just encourage staff to have a really thoughtful communication plan in terms of how this is actually communicated to residents, because I think that's really critical in terms of we can come up with all these wonderful ideas for staff to implement, but if nobody hears about them, we're not going to be successful. So I think we have a fantastic opportunity in social media. I think the township has a great website. I don't need to develop it right now, but I think I would just encourage staff to have a thoughtful conversation around what an appropriate communication strategy looks like to make sure that the residents are aware of the opportunity.
Yep, so through Mr. Chair, that's an excellent suggestion. We have staff that do that, so our team will look at that and figure out the best way to reach the community and the youth groups.
Thank you.
Councilor Toyota. I suppose.
Just one question, for what people have kids, is 10 to 1 good or should it be 9 to 12?
My kids are up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Councilor Bailey's kids are up at noon. So. I'm not sure. For me, I'll be honest with you, for me, it's all around their other sports. So I have 2 boys in rep lacrosse and that would take priority. So as long as that didn't conflict, then we would go, but that moves too. So I think it's a good starting point. Sunday mornings are pretty quiet for most people. And
This is all we really want to get the kids out of the house.
yeah, I think it's a good start.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, you're an early riser too. So.
You want to open it back for you.
Okay, so is that captured well? Do we have a move? Can we get a mover for that, please? Councilor Hurst, Councilor Bailey, a seconder. Last opportunity. All in favor?
Mr. Mayor. I think at the end of the resolution, we should have, since this youth advisory and roller skating is the brainchild of Ms. White Fox, that she should take the first month of supervision.
Moved by Counselor Spools, seconded by Counselor Hurst.
Thank you.
She's shaking her head no. She's the boss, sorry, buddy. All right, all in favor? That's carried. Oh, I'll give you a moment. Oh, can we back up? Mr. Feller, can you come back for a second? I know we probably shouldn't back up. But do we have signage or policy that say helmets are mandatory?
The policy we established for the ice rentals was anyone under 15 years of age is required to wear a helmet.
This is probably not appropriate, but I think anybody under 18 should be wearing a helmet because they're not an adult legally. And that includes for ice times. So what's the appropriate process here? Because I want council to discuss this. Because it just makes me nervous when I go there and I see even adults, it makes me nervous skating around without a helmet on. Maybe because of my profession, but I think we should have that conversation. We're opening up this to more uses. They all have helmets. They just choose not to wear them. So that's why folks.
So through you, Mr. Chair, I think that staff could take that away, come back and look at our policy and then have a discussion with council at an upcoming meeting.
Thank you. Good with that, council?
Yeah, just also to look at the insurance as well, what's covered.
Yeah, just, the injuries are awful. All injuries are awful, but. All right, thank you, Mr. Fowler. All right, we are on to correspondence 10.1. Okay. Do you have a resolution for that?
The council received correspondence item 10.1, County of Wellington resolution regarding county official plan review, agricultural system mapping and policy review, and the council directs staff to request that the county attend an upcoming council meeting to provide council with more information on the review and process.
All right. Move that please, Councilor Spools, second by Councilor Hurst. Can I say that we asked for the county to attend around 119 earlier in the meeting? Yeah, we not just combine those two because they're relative. What I will say is I had a conversation with Mr. South about the agricultural mapping. As the county has put significant resources into reviewing the mapping, some changes. And my understanding is that with these new ERO postings, all that mapping is now not going to be utilized. So that's likely what you're going to hear when they come. So yeah, I think it'll be, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but we'll hear from the county on the next meeting. All right. Any questions? Comfortable with them just coming back when they come back for 119? Good, okay, all in favor? 6.3 or 6.3. It's carried. I forget what 6.3 was already. Yes, EROs. Yeah, and it was the passing of 119. All right. Council reports, correct? Yeah. All right. I already let you know about the advocacy for the Bourne Park, which I'm still pretty proud of still. I received some correspondence around Morrison bypass. Morrison resident is requesting meeting with our MPP. He's the Speaker of the House. So still trying to advocate for that, but I also received concerns as now spring has sprung that the bypass is going to go through some farmlands and natural heritage areas. And I don't think I have my phone, I might mess this up, but they brought up concerns about the bobolink bird and the meadowlark. Does that ring a bell to anybody? Those two species, they're species at risk. And we especially we're advocates for the Highway 6 bypass to go right through potentially their habitat. So I want council to consider having staff reach out to Hydro One. They have a corridor there for those big hydro towers. It's my understanding that that size of tower, Hydro One owns the land under them. My family has some property down on Gore Road and it has a hydro corridor much smaller. And it's just an easement. We still own the land. So there's a difference there because we have to give Hydro One permission, or they have carte blanche permission to come on our property to access the corridor. But we wouldn't have to allow, say, City of Hamilton on. Whereas this one, if I'd like to find out ahead of the bypass construction, the EAs were done a very long time ago. There's now a provincial recovery plan for the Meadowlark and the Bobolink. I don't know if that was incorporated, so I'd like staff to reach out to our environmentalists and reach out to Hydro One to see if they would grant us permission just to do some preliminary investigation if those two species that are at risk in Ontario are present there. And my limited knowledge, Googling it through after being corresponded to, is similar to a trail camera. It looks, it's a device, almost like the what's the speedy ones? The Black Cat's like a device they would mount, and it records the nature and the sounds. And this is a little bit pressing because the mating season is now. So they would just get our environmentalists to get permission to go on the corridor, put this device out, it would record for a prescribed amount of days, generate a quick report. Yes, they're present. No, they're not. And then we'd at least, I just have concerns that I'm advocating for bypass that would have implications on endangered species. So I'd like to have an answer for that to the public. So that's the talk, and just wondering if council would give staff permission to at least look into it. And if it's not a serious expense to be able to just get the permission from Hydro One and get that device put into a location. So. Councilor Bailey.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. As you're talking, I'm just thinking there's probably already a bunch of nature groups out there or birding groups that probably knows this answer already. I don't know if there's resources we can tap into that would, satisfy what we're trying to achieve, but I'm happy with staff doing it as well.
Councilor Hurst.
Yeah, I'm supportive of further knowledge in this area. I think that's a good thing, especially given the larger circumstances at play here. I'm curious, and this is maybe hard for staff to do off the top of their head, but like, is there a relative cost of doing this, or even a rough estimate of what cost may be to undertake a study like this?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I unfortunately can't answer that question. I'm not sure. So we could gather some information and report back. I believe the one concern with that is that there's a short timeline for their meeting season in that. So reporting back May 24th, we may miss an important window.
Yeah, I think maybe just to follow up on that, unless it's deemed an incredibly exorbitant cost, I think I'm supportive of going ahead unless, from a staff standpoint, there was a significant red flag of like, this is an incredibly significant cost. We need to take a step back and further understand it. But if what I'm maybe hearing between the lines is there's a cost, but it's not a significant cost, then move forward with it.
Thank you. Councilor Gwynn.
Yeah, I'm supportive of the idea, and I agree with Councilor Hurst. We can leave it to staff discretion in terms of the cost. If it's exponential, then maybe report back, but otherwise, let's capture the window of time where we need to be out there.
Mr. Foltz.
We had some money allocated for hotspots for the Morrison bypass. I can't remember what we did. Did we leave it in, or is it moved to next year? Certainly, there's some money in that. I don't know if Mary and Sam could look at it quickly and give us an idea of what's in the pot.
Yes.
You could look at it, or yes, there's money.
There is money, and I'm just looking at it. So it's the 401 and Highway 6 project review of hotspots. We had budgeted 5,000 in 2022 and an additional 10,000 in 2023.
So the way I see that, this is apropos that, so we can draw on it type of thing, and as Councillor first is suggesting if it's exorbitant, that we drop it, if it's not, then there's a source of revenue that we don't have to dip into reserves.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with leaving it with staff's discretion. I think they recognize that this is fairly high level and would bring it back to us if it was absorbent. I'm hoping that it's not the case. But that's good to know. We have some money in there. Are you comfortable with that, Councilor? This White Fox?
Yes, I think that sounds like a great plan.
Okay. Do you want to read that?
The council directs staff to reach out to Hydro One in order to have the township ecologists install a wildlife recording device on the property in order to document the wildlife and to confirm if there are species at risk on the property. And the council directs staff to report back at the May 24th council meeting on the outcome of the request and if there is any cost-related concerns relating to the installation of the device.
All right, you move for that, please.
Can we add in somehow that's related to the Morrison bypass so that you can draw on funding?
You change it more later.
Yep, got it.
Okay. Comfortable with that, everyone?
I'll move it to that.
Okay, I'm gonna move that. Seconded by Councilor Hurst. Okay, all in favor? That's carried. That must be very Charlie. Any council reports? Well, the county is going through a strategic plan initiative right now. They have their first meeting, so that will guide priorities for Wellington County for this term of council. Planning, I will say this, so we know the RO postings are there. We're gonna hear from the county on once they've reviewed those, but at our last planning committee, we authorized the purchasing of 14 home energy kits. They're in a blue case, not a suitcase, but one of those tough cases, you know, the latches. You open it up and inside it, there's electricity use device that you can plug into the wall. You can plug your TV into it, say at night after you go to bed, then you'll see the usage of that TV while it's off. So it's an audit kit. So there's a workbook that you can go through and you can do a self audit on your home. And the idea is you can find deficiencies. It's quite a neat little kit. So you can sign it out. I've forgotten the duration, but initially it was proposed for 3 kits through the county. And then somebody at the planning committee suggested putting one at the every library. So that's what was approved by the county. Now they have to build or not build them themselves, but they still have to be purchased and assembled. So I'm not exactly sure when all 14 will be available, but the first 3 are available. So again, there's a workbook, there's a bunch of devices and different things in there, thermometers, you can measure your air conditioning in your house, if it's accurate to what your thermostat's saying, all sorts of good stuff, all in the name of becoming more efficient with our energy use at home. So I thought that was a great little program from the county. They spoke about rural water quality program, where that's the program, and Councilor Hurst, you're probably more familiar with this, where they rehab or keep animals away from streams, and then it naturalizes, increases the or decreases the water temperature and just increases the nature of it. I don't know what you would call it, but and you know, the well decommissioning, the well improvements, that program they spoke about at the planning committee, which is well good news. And they also spoke of the EROs, which are going to be very challenging for county. Province, when they approved the official plans, they added land in Rockwood that was not part of what the county had mapped. And Rockwood currently doesn't have any additional sewage, so there's a lot of challenges out in the county regarding these EROs, not just Post Lunch. They added lands in other small communities that the county had not identified. So we're going to work through all of that. And also talk at there's EV, like an EV tour, they have dates throughout the county that you can go and see electric vehicles, you can test drive them, you can educate yourself, you can get your hands on them. I don't know if one's coming to, Councilor Bailey, you've been in contact with that, is it Karen?
Yeah.
Would you maybe speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd actually attended the one that was up at the museum last summer, and it was fantastic. They had a really great educational component. And then you got to actually take out an EV car and test drive it. And anyway, that was great. Karen has reached out, wondering when, if, sort of where a good place would be in Bush Lynch to run something like that. And I think through staff, we sort of decided that maybe after the construction's been done at the community center, you know, maybe in the fall, we can do some sort of day in the parking lot and have residents come out and try that.
Yeah, it's just to educate people and let them get their hands on it, so see if it's a good fit for their families. So
That's American living, then it's,
it's not my car, it's Carly's car. And no, it's a China doll. Very, very sensitive, that car. Okay, I think, don't recall anything else I need to report from the county. So anything from members of council here on council reports? Councilor Hurst?
Sure, we just had a Heritage Advisory Committee meeting earlier this week, and I think I just wanted to share with colleagues, I think, 3 important milestones for our group. I think the first one being the municipality's intention to hire a summer student to help with the Heritage Registry, I think is quite positive, and township staff shared a status update that process is going well. So I think that's a great resource for the advisory committee to utilize to address the 18 properties through the registry process. So I think that's the first thing. The second piece is we'd identified a number of conferences that had been included in the budget consultations for this past year. So a number of our committee members will be representing the municipality at both national and provincial conferences. So I think that's an important aspect that we're actively engaging as a advisory committee within the parameters beyond our particular township, but also to learn from other municipalities on challenges and successes that they've had. And probably the third piece from my standpoint is just getting the work underway for our subcommittees to address the various properties that we had identified as high priorities, and looking forward to a point in time in the near term where we start pushing these properties with the willing owners through the registry process. So I think overall just happy with our process, and I think that's an important opportunity for us to share the successes of our group with everybody here.
Thank you. Maybe I did forget garbage cleanup day. May 11th, correct?
I was gonna mention it, but now.
I'll leave it be then. All right. Do we have a resolution?
Yes, the council received the mayor and council member updates for information.
Are you gonna move for that, please? Suppose, second by Councilor Bailey, all in favor? Carried. Bylaws, Ms. Whitebox.
I don't believe we have any bylaws.
Excellent. Announcements.
Yes, ditch cleanup is this Saturday. So some of us already distributed garbage bags, and I guess some of us are gonna be collecting garbage bags.
Is it the 6th? Oh,
Saturday.
sorry,
Saturday.
I missed this. Can we push that out ASAP on our social media?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we certainly can. It may have already been advertised. I'm not certain. Justine Brotherston is on the call. She could maybe confirm.
I don't believe we have shared that, but we will get that out today.
And can we push that out next year, a week ahead? I've been seeing on social media, and the way social media works now is every little thing people want to highlight as a concern. And it's, why are there black garbage bags on the side of the road? It's like, well, because we're doing a township cleanup day. So, and I'm not faulting you, I'm just, it's just the nature of the beast. Now there's an opportunity to, instead of calling and asking. So, yeah, going forward, if we know the date, push that out a week ahead. So then as people start to see this, it's not casting blame on people driving down the road, throwing the garbage out off the side of the truck or something. It's actually a good thing that people are cleaning it up. So I'd appreciate that. Councilor Bailey?
Yeah, just tacking onto that, the Optimus Club of Puss Lunch has just put something on social media, so it would be really easy to share that out, and it's a really great post. So,
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Typically what the township does is look to amplify our community group's social media by sharing their posts. And we hadn't seen a post shared yet, so we will definitely share their posts on our social media platforms.
Okay, so we need to talk to them to make sure they get their post out earlier.
and they were delayed.
And also through you, Mr. Chair, we can add this. We have a calendar of events that we keep, so we can put a place mark in for this sometime perhaps in April, just to remind us to double check on what that date is.
Yeah, it snuck up on me for sure.
I just want to have another question on this, ditch cleanup. A lot of the residents rely on these super mailboxes, so you try to deliver a garbage bag, there's no mailbox there. So I was wondering if there's some mechanism we can use to do that. I don't want the township to incur the cost of mailing it out, but is there a way that we can think about something for next year that will allow us to alert the residents who exclusively use these super mailboxes?
So can I chime in? We could, through the course, the social media education component, direct them to the reps at the Optimus Club that are handing out garbage bags to get one, or it's my understanding, if there's a black garbage bag on the side of the road, they'll pick it up. So part of the messaging that we should maybe ask the Optimus to not improve, but include in their messaging that if you don't receive a bag, you can use your own bag. So if you collect garbage on May 6th and put it on the side of the road, for the most part, right? I mean, it's going to be picked up. Over. All right. Councilor Bailey?
Yeah, I just wanted to announce through the Puss Lunch Safe Communities Group and through the Optimus Club, Puss Lunch Fire and OPP, we're doing our second annual bike rodeo. So the date that's been chosen is Saturday, June 3rd, and it's going to run from 9 till 11:30 in the morning at the township office parking lot. The session will actually start in the fire hall with a bit of a presentation, and then the kids are invited to come out into the parking lot where there'll be different stations set up, and kids will bring their own bikes, and OPP and those involved can help look at the safety of their bikes and make sure their helmets are fitting right and things like that. So Saturday, June 3rd, 9 to 11:30, and we're just requesting that people register through the Optimus Club website. And that way we'll just have an idea of how many are coming. So bring your kids.
Do they put serial numbers on the bikes? You know, they do that in the city sometimes.
I don't remember us talking about that last year. But that's a good question.
You take that back.
Yeah,
So then they can get returned if they get stolen
yeah.
sometimes. Anybody else for announcements? All right, I believe we're in close. So can we do the one that I have to leave first? Or did you want that at the end? You want
That's
that at the
okay.
end? Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so your resolution proposed.
Yes, the council should go into closed session under section 239 of the Municipal Act for the purpose of 14.1, a confidential report prepared by staff regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And this is relating to a human resource matter. 14.2, confidential report prepared by staff regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality. This is relating to proposed disposition of township road allowances. 14.3 is a confidential report prepared by staff regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And this is relating to the Ontario Divisional Court decision, MPAC versus the County of Wellington. 14.4, confidential report prepared by staff regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and this is relating to an extension agreement for tax arrears payment. 14.5, confidential report prepared by staff regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal board or local board employees, and this is Township Planning Services. 14.6, confidential verbal report regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and this is relating to Planning Act application processes. And then 14.7 has a number of previous closed meeting minutes, and those will be done in a separate closed meeting.
Thank you. Can I move for that, please? Councilor Bailey, second by Councilor Spillis. All in favor? Carried. All right, we're in close. We'll wait for this, Hey, use the washroom. Yeah. There's treats in the back. And Ms. Whitebox, you have a resolution?
The council moves into open session at 3:39 p.m.
I'm gonna move for that. Councilor Bailey, sorry, Councilor Goyden, Councilor Spillis, all in favor? Councilor Bailey, you're in favor? You start here. Okay. And another one, Justine.
That council receives the 4.1 confidential report prepared by staff regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, human resource matter. 14.2 confidential report prepared by staff regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, proposed disposition of land and road allowance. 14.3 confidential report prepared by staff regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, Ontario Divisional Court decision, MPAC AL v. County of Wellington. 14.4 confidential report prepared by staff regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for the purpose, extension agreement for tax arrears payment. 14.5 confidential report prepared by staff regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, Township Planning Services. 14.6 confidential verbal report regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, Planning Act applications, and that council give 3 readings to bylaw 2023-024, being a bylaw to appoint Courtney Hoyt-Fox as interim chief administrative officer in accordance with section 229 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that council authorize director of finance / treasurer to enter into an extension agreement for lands municipally known as 49 Aberfoyle Mill Crescent, Township of Puslinch, for the purpose of an extension of time to pay property taxes, and that council receives and adopts the confidential meeting minutes for information. 14.7.1 February 8th, 2023, first closed meeting minutes. 14.7.3 March 1st, 2023, closed meeting minutes. 14.7.4 March 22nd, 2023, first closed meeting minutes. 14.7.6 April 12, 2023, first closed meeting minutes, and that council directs staff to proceed as directed.
All right, thank you. Can I get a mover for that, please? Councilor Spillis, second by Councilor Goya, all in favor? Carried. I believe they're gonna go into close. Just before we go, on my written one, I have 14.7, which are the ones that I have conflicts on? So I can come over a pen. Councilor Spillis. Arrows are there. I just want to update this, so it's
14.7.2,
7.2, yeah,
14.7.5,
yeah.
14.7.7.
PM versions.
Thank you.
There's PM for your topic.
Oh, no, what's that? I'll put a PM version. Just for the record.
PM on the,
Perfect, thank you. I just. Yours. All right, and who do you want to chair?
The Councilor Gorda is our next. Councilor Spillis was a previous. That's fine. Okay.
All right, you guys enjoy it.
We have a resolution to go back into closed. Okay, The council should go into closed session under section 239 of the Municipal Act for the purpose of adoption and receipt of the previous closed minutes, February 8th, 2023, the second closed meeting minutes, March 22nd, 2023, the second closed meeting minutes, and April 12th, 2023, the second closed meeting minutes.
Okay, can I get a mover? Seconded? Counselor first, move, Counselor, second, all in favor? You wanna go ahead and read the motion?
So the council moves into open session at 3:45 PM.
Get a mover, Counselor Spurless, seconder, Counselor Hurst, all in favor? Carried.
And the council receives and adopts the confidential meeting minutes for information.
Okay, and mover, Counselor Spurless, seconder, Counselor Hurst, all in favor? Carried. And then next we're on item 15, business arising from session. Business. No, notice of motion. New business. Okay, confirmatory bylaw.
That the following bylaw be taken as read 3 times and finally passed in open council. Bylaw 2023-023. To confirm the proceedings of the council for the corporation of the township of Pleasant held at its meeting on the 3rd day of May 2023.
I get a mover, Counselor Hurst, seconded by Counselor Spurless, all in favor, carried and adjourned.
Council hereby adjourns at 3:46 PM.
Mover, Counselor Hurst, seconder, Counselor Spurless, all in favor, carried, for adjourned.
So.
Okay.